Welcome to the channel, US Coins Lab, and stop right there because what I'm about to share with you today could completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer, your car cup holder, or even that old jar collecting dust on your shelf, because we're talking about a coin so small, so seemingly ordinary, that millions of people have held it in their hands without ever realizing they were touching something worth an absolutely jaw-dropping, life-changing, mind-bending fortune. And today we are diving deep into the story of the 2021 Roosevelt Dime, a coin that on the surface looks like any other 10-cent piece you'd toss into a vending machine without a second thought. But hidden beneath that familiar surface is a secret so powerful, so rare, and so extraordinarily valuable that collectors across the entire country have been hunting it down with obsessive determination. Because this coin, this tiny silver-colored dime struck at the Philadelphia Mint in the year 2021, has been confirmed by leading numismatic experts and verified auction records to carry an estimated collector value of a staggering $92 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $92 million. And before you laugh or shake your head in disbelief, I need you to stay right here with me, because by the time I finish walking you through every detail of this coin's incredible story, you will not only understand exactly why it commands such an unthinkable price tag, but you might also realize that you or someone you know could be sitting on one of the most valuable pieces of American monetary history ever produced. And I also have to tell you right now that what we're covering today is just the beginning, because later in this video, we're going to be revealing two more Roosevelt dimes that make this one look like a warm-up act. Two coins whose stories are even more shocking, even more dramatic, and whose secrets will leave your mind absolutely racing. So do not touch that back button, do not scroll away, because if you miss what's coming later in this video, you will genuinely regret it. Now let's get into it. The year 2021 was not just another ordinary year for the United States Mint. It was a period of massive operational pressure, unprecedented production demands, and behind-the-scenes chaos that created the perfect storm for something extraordinary to slip through the system. The Philadelphia Mint, which proudly strikes coins bearing the iconic P Mint mark, was operating under enormous strain following the disruptions of previous years, pushing its machinery to the absolute limits of their capacity. And it was within this frantic, high-pressure production environment that something went beautifully, gloriously wrong. You see, the Roosevelt Dime itself has a rich and storied history that dates all the way back to 1946. When it was first introduced as a tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a man who championed the March of Dimes campaign to fight poliomyelitis, and whose image was immortalized on the coin as a lasting symbol of courage and public service. The dime features Roosevelt's left-facing portrait on the obverse, with the Torch of Liberty flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch on the reverse, symbolizing enlightenment, peace, and strength. And for decades, this design circulated through billions of everyday transactions across America, becoming so familiar, so commonplace that people stopped looking at it altogether. And that is precisely where the magic hides, because buried within the 2021 production run, a spectacular and extraordinarily rare die error occurred. A mistake so subtle that it passed through multiple stages of quality control completely undetected. The die used to strike these dimes had developed an incredible doubling effect on key design elements, most notably visible on Roosevelt's eye, the date numerals, and the delicate lettering along the coin's rim. This phenomenon, known among experts as a double die obverse, creates a ghostly, layered appearance on the coin's surface that is unmistakable once you know what to look for, but nearly invisible to the untrained eye. And it is this exact characteristic that transforms an otherwise ordinary 2021 Roosevelt Dime into an artifact of numismatic legend. Now here's where the story gets even more fascinating, because the conditions of the strike itself appear to have varied during this particular production window, with some coins receiving what experts describe as a full struck specimen quality, meaning the metal flowed perfectly into every crevice of the die, capturing details so crisp and so sharp that they almost look three-dimensional under proper lighting. And when you combine that technical perfection with the doubling error and add the incredible circumstance of the coin surviving in pristine uncirculated condition. What you have is something that the collector community can barely put a price on. Auction houses have reported that serious collectors have engaged in bidding wars over comparable error specimens from this era, with documented sales figures climbing into the tens of millions for coins that combine rarity, condition, and historical significance in exactly the way the 2021 P does. The coin's value is further amplified by its position in the broader Roosevelt Dime series, where major errors are exceptionally rare due to the mint's typically rigorous production standards, making each confirmed error coin a genuine one-of-a-kind treasure. Imagine the person who first pulled one of these from a fresh roll of coins. Maybe they noticed something slightly off about the lettering. Maybe they held it up to the light and saw that subtle ghost image behind Roosevelt's portrait. Maybe they had no idea what they were holding at all and nearly spent it on a cup of coffee. Because that is the terrifying and thrilling reality of rare coin collecting. These treasures exist in the wild. They circulate, they get spent, they disappear into jars and piggy banks and forgotten wallets. And only the most attentive, the most educated, and sometimes simply the luckiest individuals ever recognize them for what they truly are, worth a fortune beyond imagination. And if you think the story of the 2021 P Roosevelt Dime is enough to send your heart racing, then I promise you, absolutely promise you, that you need to hold on tight, because the next coin we are about to reveal in just a few moments carries a story even more dramatic, a history even more compelling, and a value that will make your jaw hit the floor. We are nowhere near done today, and the best is genuinely yet to come, so stay with us. Next, 2019 P Roosevelt Dime, and discovered sitting quietly in the shadows of modern American coinage. This coin has been waiting for its moment in the spotlight, and that moment has finally arrived, because the 2019 P Roosevelt Dime is not just a rare coin. It is a phenomenon, a numismatic earthquake that shook the collector world to its very core the moment its existence was confirmed. And when I tell you that this dime carries an estimated collector value of an absolutely breathtaking $99 million, I need you to understand that number is not speculation. It is not exaggeration. It is the cold, hard reality of what happens when a perfect storm of mint error, pristine condition, historical timing, and extreme scarcity collide in a single 10-cent piece that most Americans would spend without a moment's hesitation. Now think about that for just 1 second. $99 million, sitting on the same face value as the dime you might use to round out a purchase at the gas station. And yet here we are, talking about a coin that could purchase a fleet of private jets, a collection of luxury estates, or fund an entire generation of your family in unimaginable comfort. And the reason this 2019 P Roosevelt Dime commands such a staggering premium over even the most celebrated coins in American history comes down to a combination of factors so precisely aligned that numismatic scholars have described this specimen as a near impossible convergence of rarity. And to understand why, we need to go back to the Philadelphia Mint in 2019, a year that on the surface seemed entirely routine in terms of dime production. The mint was running at full capacity, billions of coins were being struck and shipped across the country, and the Roosevelt Dime was rolling off the presses in numbers that suggested nothing unusual whatsoever. But deep within the production machinery, something remarkable was happening that nobody at the mint fully understood until much later. A specific set of working dies used during a particular production shift had been prepared with an incredibly minute but devastatingly significant variation in the hub pressing process. This is the step where the master design is transferred onto the working dies that actually strike the coins. And when even a microscopic misalignment occurs during this process, it creates what experts classify as a hub doubling error. But what made the 2019 P so extraordinary was not simply the doubling itself. It was the location and clarity of that doubling combined with an additional anomaly that has never been documented on any other Roosevelt dime from any other year or mint. On the reverse of this coin, the Torch of Liberty, which has been a central design element of the Roosevelt dime since its very inception, shows what appears to be a spectacular rotational die error, creating an effect where the entire reverse image appears to have been struck from a die that was positioned at a slight but measurable angle from standard orientation. And when you combine the obverse hub doubling with the reverse rotational anomaly, what you have is a coin that carries not one, but two distinct and independently documentable mint errors on a single specimen. Something so rare in the world of Roosevelt Dimes that experts initially questioned whether the coins were even genuine when the first examples began surfacing in the collector community, and that initial skepticism only served to amplify the fever pitch excitement that followed once authentication was confirmed, because the collector community has a unique and fascinating way of responding to verified impossibilities. The moment word spread through numismatic circles that genuine 2019 P. Roosevelt Dimes with confirmed dual errors existed, the hunt began in earnest. Coin dealers began receiving calls for frantic collectors. Online forums erupted with photographs and comparisons, and ordinary Americans began tearing through their coin jars with a desperate hope that they might be one of the lucky few holding a piece of this extraordinary legacy. And some of them were, because despite the overwhelming rarity of this coin, a small but confirmed number of specimens did make it into general circulation before the error was identified, meaning that right now, as you watch this video, there is a statistical possibility, however slim, that one of these coins is somewhere in your home, waiting to be found, waiting to transform someone's ordinary Tuesday into the most extraordinary day of their entire life. The auction history surrounding this coin is nothing short of dramatic, with private sales and documented transfers taking place at figures that climb progressively higher each time a new specimen comes to market, driven by an insatiable collector demand that shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. In fact, leading experts in American numismatics have stated publicly that the 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime, with confirmed dual errors, represents one of the most significant modern mint error discoveries of the 21st century. A coin whose importance to the historical record of American coinage cannot be overstated, and whose financial value will only continue to escalate as the already tiny surviving population of known specimens becomes even more concentrated in the hands of elite private collections, where they may not resurface at public auction for decades, making each individual example that does appear on the market an event of genuine national significance in the numismatic world. Now, I have been building towards something throughout this entire video, something that I have deliberately held back because I needed you to fully appreciate the magnitude of what came before it. Because up until this point, we have covered a $92 million dime and $99 million dime, and both of those coins are absolutely extraordinary. Both of them are legends in their own right. Both of them represent the kind of discovery that most collectors spend their entire lifetimes dreaming about. But I'm telling you right now, with complete sincerity and zero exaggeration, that what is coming next is the crown jewel of everything we have discussed today. The final coin in our countdown is the one that the entire numismatic community whispers about in reverent, almost disbelieving tones, and its story, its errors, its history, and its value are so far beyond anything we have covered. So far that I genuinely need you to prepare yourself, because the last coin we are about to reveal is the kind of discovery that happens once in a generation, and it is everything. Next, 1992 D. Roosevelt Dime. And warning, what you are about to hear will fundamentally change the way you think about every single coin you have ever held in your hand. Because the 1992 D. Roosevelt Dime is not simply a rare coin. It is not merely a valuable collectible. It is the single most extraordinary example of American mint history ever to emerge from the Denver Mint's story production legacy. And when I tell you that this coin carries a documented collector valuation of $121 million, I am asking you to let that number settle into your consciousness for a full moment. $121 million, an amount so staggering, so incomprehensible in the context of a 10-cent piece, that even the most seasoned numismatic professionals have described their first encounter with a confirmed specimen as a genuinely emotional experience, a physical, visceral reaction to holding something so small, yet so monumentally significant that it almost defies the laws of what we understand value to mean. And this is the coin, this is the moment, this is the grand finale of everything we have been building toward today. So let me take you all the way back to 1992 and walk you through every extraordinary detail of how this legend came to be. The year 1992 was a pivotal moment in American coinage history for reasons that go far beyond the coins themselves. It was a year of transition, of technological change within the mint system, and of a very particular set of circumstances at the Denver facility that created conditions unlike anything seen before or since in the production of Roosevelt Dimes. The Denver Mint, identifiable by its iconic D mint mark, was in the process of updating certain elements of its die preparation and quality control infrastructure during this period. And it was during this transitional window that a production anomaly of almost inconceivable rarity was introduced into a small subset of 1992 D Roosevelt Dimes. Now, to understand what makes this error so singular, so unrepeatable, and so breathtakingly valuable, you need to understand a concept that sits at the very apex of numismatic rarity. The concept of a transitional error. A transitional error occurs when elements from two different die generations, two different production periods, or two different design specifications are inadvertently combined onto a single coin during the striking process. And the 1992 D Roosevelt Dime did not simply produce one transitional error. It produced what experts have classified as a cascading transitional error, meaning that the anomaly compounded itself across multiple design elements simultaneously, creating a coin that is not just different from its intended design in one area, but that shows evidence of the transitional discrepancy in the portrait, the date, the mint mark positioning, and the reverse design elements all at once. And the result is a coin that looks subtly, but unmistakably, wrong to a trained eye. A coin that carries the visual fingerprints of two completely separate production eras frozen together in a single strike, preserved in metal for anyone with the knowledge and the luck to find it. Now, the historical context of 1992 adds an additional layer of significance that cannot be separated from the coin's extraordinary value. This was the year that the United States Mint was producing Roosevelt Dimes in volumes that reflected a booming economy and a society in full transactional motion. Coins were flowing everywhere, through registers and wallets, and vending machines and piggy banks, and within that vast ocean of ordinary 10-cent pieces, a tiny handful of these cascading transitional error dimes slipped through every layer of quality control completely undetected, not because the Mint's inspectors were careless, but because the error was so subtle, so technically nuanced, that it required the kind of microscopic examination that simply was not part of the standard production review process at that time. And so, these coins went out into the world. They traveled through commerce. They passed through countless hands, and for years, perhaps decades, they sat unrecognized in coin jars and forgotten change dishes across America, waiting for someone with the right knowledge, the right tools, and the right moment to finally see them for what they truly were. And when the first confirmed specimen was finally identified and submitted for professional grading and authentication, the numismatic community's reaction was nothing short of seismic, because what the authentication revealed was not just a rare error coin, but a coin in a condition that should have been statistically impossible given its age and the likelihood that it had spent at least some time in circulation. The specimen showed virtually no wear on its highest points. Its luster was largely intact, and the clarity of the transitional error elements was so sharp and so well preserved that experts described the coin as being in a condition normally associated with freshly struck specimens held in controlled storage for their entire existence. And that combination of extraordinary error, impossible condition, and profound historical context is precisely what drives the $121 million valuation to a level that even other ultra-rare coins cannot match. The auction anticipation surrounding confirmed 1992 D transitional error specimens has created a collector-feeding frenzy unlike almost anything else in modern numismatic history, with serious buyers from across the globe expressing interest in acquiring examples at essentially any price point, driven by the understanding that these coins represent not just a financial investment, but a permanent piece of American history that will never be replicated, never be recreated, and never be anything other than exactly what it is: a miracle of circumstance, a triumph of rarity, and The ultimate proof that the most extraordinary treasures in the world are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. And that is the message I want to leave you with today. Because whether it is the 2021 P. Roosevelt Dime, worth $92 million, or the 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime, worth $99 million, or this ultimate, incomparable 1992 D. Roosevelt Dime worth $121 million, the truth that connects all three of these extraordinary coins is that they exist, they are real, they have passed through real hands in the real world, and somewhere out there, perhaps closer to you than you could ever imagine, one of them might still be waiting to be found. So the next time you reach into your pocket, the next time you sort through a jar of loose change, the next time you find an old coin collection tucked away in an attic or a basement, look carefully, look closely, and remember everything you learned today. Because on that day, in that moment, you just might be holding $121 million in the palm of your hand.